the forgotten child of the north. In the fjords of the far north, where cliffs cut into the sea like the jaws of giants and storms sang their endless songs, there lived a boy whose name was not yet known in any hall of glory. He was called Skarde, son of no great jarl, no mighty warrior, no famed skald. His father had been a fisherman, lost to the waves in a storm when Skarde was but 3 winters old. His mother died not long after, worn thin by hunger and sorrow. Thus, Skarde grew as a child of the village's pity, fed by scraps and clothed in rags. While other boys spoke proudly of fathers who had raided across the seas, Skarde sat silent, his fists clenched, his heart burning with envy. In the longhouse, he heard the sagas sung, tales of Ragnar Lothbrok, of mighty Harald Fairhair, of Sigurd who slew Fafnir the dragon. He swore that one day, sagas would be sung of him, too. But in those days, none believed it. The elders called him cursed, for the gods had taken his family. The warriors laughed, for his arms were thin as twigs and his frame was small. Even the children mocked him, calling him Shadowborn, for he lurked in the corners of the hall, listening instead of boasting. Yet within him grew a hunger greater than any other child of Sólbrjótur. While others dreamed of raiding for silver or winning renown in small battles, Skarde dreamed of the world itself bending beneath his name. And the gods, though silent, listened. When Skarde was 12 winters old, the men of Sólbrjótur prepared to sail on a raid across the sea. Each boy of the village who neared manhood was tested with a trial, to prove his worth, to show courage before he could take an oar. Most were given simple tasks, to hunt a deer, to endure cold water, to lift stones heavy enough to strain their backs. But for Skarde, the seeress chose something harsher. Hildrun, the village Volva, came to him with her staff of ash wood, her eyes milky white from age and prophecy. She sniffed the air as though smelling his soul. "You are not like the others, boy," she said. "The Norns weave strange threads around you. If you wish to sit among warriors, you must spill blood this night." They led him into the forest, where the moonlight painted the snow silver. There, a wolf had been trapped in a pit, a great beast, its eyes burning with hunger. The men handed Skarde a short spear and no shield. "Enter," said Hildrun. "Prove you are not food for beasts." The boy trembled. The men expected him to die. Some even grinned, eager to see the weakling devoured. But when Skarde lowered himself into the pit, something inside him hardened. The wolf lunged, its jaws snapping. Skarde thrust the spear, but the shaft splintered against its hide. The beast crashed into him, teeth tearing at his arm. Pain seared through him, but instead of fear, rage ignited. He seized a jagged stone from the pit floor and smashed it against the wolf's skull, again and again, until the creature twitched no more. When he climbed from the pit, bloodied and panting, the warriors no longer laughed. The seeress smiled with toothless lips. "You are Shadowborn." "Yes," she said softly, "but shadows may grow long enough to cover the world." Years passed, and Skarde grew strong. Hardship carved him as wind-shaped stone. He learned to row until his arms ached, to wield an axe until his palms bled, to endure hunger, cold, and mockery without complaint. One night, after returning from his first raid, where he had proven himself by cutting down an enemy twice his size, Skarde wandered to the cliffs overlooking the sea. The moon hung low, and the surf roared below. There he felt a presence. From the mist rose a figure cloaked in raven feathers. One eye glimmered like the moon, the other was hidden in shadow. "Boy," said the figure, his voice deep as thunder. "Do you know me?" Skarde fell to one knee. "Odin," he whispered. The Allfather's single eye bored into him. "You seek glory. You burn for fame. But know this, those who climb highest draw the sharpest gaze of the gods. Do you dare challenge not just men, but the order of the 9 worlds themselves?" Skarde clenched his fists. "I will not be forgotten. I will carve my name so deep that not even Ragnarök will erase it." Odin's laugh was like the crack of ice. "Then rise, Skarde. But beware. Glory is a double-edged sword. One side carves your name into eternity, the other severs you from peace forever." When the mist cleared, Skarde stood alone. In his palm lay a raven's feather, black as midnight. He kept it always, a token of the Allfather's gaze. By the age of 20, Skarde was no longer mocked. His deeds and raids had earned him silver, His strength earned respect, and his cunning earned both fear and admiration. Yet it was not enough. In the Great Hall, warriors boasted of how many villages they had burned, how many ships they had seized. Skarde listened, but his eyes always looked further. He spoke not of plunder, but of kingdoms, of uniting the North, of crossing seas no man had dared. The Jarls laughed at him. A fisherman's son, dreaming of kingship, they mocked. But he did not answer with words, only with relentless action. He trained longer than any, fought harder than all, and gathered around him men who were outcasts, second sons, bastards, and wanderers. To them he promised not just silver, but immortality in song. The world is vast, he told them, his voice like fire. But it belongs to those bold enough to take it. I will not stop at villages. I will not stop at seas. I will carve a path through Midgard itself, until the gods themselves know my name. And in the smoke of the hearth, Hildrun the seeress whispered, the shadow grows long. The boy becomes a storm, but storms break as often as they conquer. The long house of Sólbrjótur shook with feasting. Smoke curled from the central hearth, mead spilled from horn to beard, and the voices of warriors rose in songs of blood and silver. Yet, in the far corner, away from the laughter, Skarde sat with a handful of men, not the proud sons of Jarls, but the discarded, the hungry, and the restless. There was Bruni, a smith's bastard with arms like iron hammers. Ingvar, cast out from his clan for killing a kinsman. Eirik the Thin, who spoke little but whose eyes saw everything. And Freydis, a shield maiden who had fled an unwanted marriage. They were bound not by kin, but by hunger for more than scraps of glory. We raid for others' names, Skarde told them, his voice low, but burning. The Jarls grow fat while we are their dogs. Why serve when we can rule? Why fight for their silver when the world itself can be ours? His words fell into them like sparks into dry tinder. By spring, they had sworn oaths upon steel and fire, to follow Skarde wherever he led, to share in his destiny, whether it ended in thrones or death. And thus, from outcasts, a warband was born. The first step toward glory was not conquest of land, but mastery of the sea. Skarde had no great fleet, no dragon-proud longships adorned with gold. He had but one vessel, old and scarred, patched by Bruni's iron. They called it Stormcrow, for the way Odin's ravens seemed to follow it across the waters. Skarde's plan was bold. While others raided the soft coasts of the west, he steered north, into waters whispered to be cursed. The elders spoke of sea serpents that coiled around ships, of waves taller than mountains, of ice that could swallow a manhole. Beyond fear lies greatness, Skarde told his band. And though their hearts trembled, none turned back. For 7 days they rode beneath a sky heavy with storm clouds. On the 8th, the sea itself seemed to stir. From the deep rose a serpent vast as a ship, its scales gleaming with the green of drowned forests, its eyes glowing like lanterns. The men cried out, but Skarde stood at the prow, axe in hand. If the gods test us, we answer with steel, he roared. The serpent struck, shattering an oar, snapping jaws toward the deck. Freydis hurled a spear into its eye, and Bruni swung a hammer upon its skull. Skarde leapt onto its back, his axe biting into scaled flesh again and again until the beast thrashed and bled into the waves. At last it sank, its blood staining the sea red. The Stormcrow drifted, battered but unbroken. The men gazed at Skarde with awe. None spoke, but in their hearts, the Shadowborn was no longer just a companion. He was a leader. They sailed further north until they found land, a place of black stone, steaming vents, and mountains spitting fire into the sky. The locals called it Elderheim, the land of fire, and spoke of spirits that walked its molten plains. There, Skarde sought not plunder, but knowledge. They came upon a cavern where flames danced without fuel. Within stood a giantess, tall as a pine, her hair a river of molten gold. She named herself Eldra, daughter of Surt, keeper of fire. "Why do mortals trespass in my father's realm?" she asked, her voice the crackle of burning logs. The others quailed, but Skarde stepped forward. "I seek not to bow to gods or giants," he said. "I seek to carve my name across the world. If fire itself bars my path, I will seize it." The giantess laughed, a sound like lava bursting. "Bold little shadow. Few mortals dare speak thus. Very well, take this. She placed in his hand a shard of obsidian, black as night, but burning with hidden heat. This stone is fire-made flesh. Wield it well, and flame shall answer your call. But beware, fire devours as easily as it warms. Thus, Skarde carried a token not only of Odin, but now of Surtur's kin. When they returned to Sólbrjótur, they carried tales of serpent blood and fire mountains. The villagers gaped, some in wonder, some in fear. Yet not all welcomed Skarde's rising star. The Jarls muttered that he grew too bold, that his ambition stank of rebellion. Hildrun the seeress came to him again, her staff clicking on the ground like a raven's beak. Shadowborn, she whispered, your steps grow heavy, and the threads of fate tighten. I have seen you in the weave, a wolf devouring kings, a storm drowning ships, a shadow covering Midgard. But I have seen also the spear of Odin cast against you, and the serpent of Loki coiling at your feet. Tell me then, Skarde demanded, does my name endure? The seeress smiled, her eyes blind yet piercing. Yes, but whether in triumph or ruin, I cannot say. At last, Skarde turned his eyes to conquest. Not raids, not fleeting battles, but a kingdom. South lay the lands of King Harald Ironhand, a cruel ruler who taxed his people until they starved. Skarde saw opportunity. Why steal silver when we can seize thrones, he told his band. The people groan under Harald's yoke. If we strike not as raiders, but as liberators, they will join us. With but 100 men, Skarde marched. Harald's warriors outnumbered them 5-1, yet Skarde fought not with numbers, but with fury and guile. At the Battle of Raffensvale, Skarde's warband struck like wolves in the night. Bruni shattered shields with his hammer, Freydis cut a path with her blade, and Skarde himself faced Harald Ironhand in single combat. The king's sword clashed against Skarde's axe, sparks flying. Harald laughed at the young warrior's audacity, until Skarde's obsidian shard burned with hidden flame. His axe blazed, cleaving Harald's hand from his wrist. The tyrant fell, and with him his rule. The people hailed Skarde not only as a warrior, but as a liberator. For the first time, land bent beneath his name. The death of King Harald Ironhand spread like wildfire. Songs were sung in mead halls of how a nameless warrior, son of no jarl, had struck down a tyrant and seized his throne. Yet Skarde did not call himself king. King is too small a word, he told his band. I do not want crowns, I want the world. But the world does not bend without resistance. Harald's allies whispered of vengeance. Neighboring jarls sharpened their axes, fearing the rise of a shadow-born usurper. Skarde knew that to hold one throne was meaningless. He must strike again, harder, faster, so that fear spread faster than rumor. And so the storm rolled southward. It was on the wide plains of Hodmamir that Skarde met his fiercest challenge yet. A jarl named Stenjorn, said to have giant's blood, gathered 300 men to crush the upstart. Skarde had but half that number, yet he did not falter. Numbers are meat for wolves, he told his warriors. And we are wolves. The battle raged beneath storm clouds that split with lightning. Stenjorn himself waded through the fray like a bear, his axe sweeping men aside. When he reached Skarde, the ground shook with their clash. The jarl struck with the strength of 10 men, but Skarde's obsidian shard burned in his palm, feeding his fury. Sparks leapt from their weapons as lightning split the sky. At last, Skarde buried his axe in Stenjorn's chest, and the giant-blooded jarl fell. The men of Stenjorn fled, and the plains belonged to Skarde. But in the thunder's echo, a deeper sound was heard, laughter. The storm parted, and upon the clouds stood a figure broad and golden-haired, his hammer crackling with lightning. So this is the Shadowborn, boomed Thor, son of Odin. I smelled your ambition from Asgard itself. You kill jarls and call yourself a wolf. But know this, wolves are hunted by thunder. The god raised Mjolnir, and lightning blazed down. Skarde was thrown to his knees, his men scattering in terror. Yet Skarde, bloodied, stood again. If you would strike me, Thunderer, he roared, then do it before all my men, so they will know I defied a god. Thor paused, his grin widening. Bold, too bold. I will not crush you yet, not until your hunger dares reach Asgard itself. Grow, little wolf, grow, until you are worth my hammer. With a laugh like rolling thunder, Thor vanished. Skarde fell to his knees, smoke rising from his skin, but his spirit burned hotter than ever. After the battle, when his men feasted, Skarde sat alone. It was then a shadow flickered by the fire, a man with sharp eyes and a smile too wide. "You burn so bright, Shadowborn," the stranger said. "So bright that even the gods squint. Odin marks you, Thor tests you, and yet you live." Curious, Skarde narrowed his eyes. "Name yourself." The man bowed. "I have many names. Skywalker, Trickster, Sly One, but you may call me Loki." Skarde's hand went to his axe. "Why do you come?" "Because I like mischief," Loki purred. "And you are mischief-given flesh. You snarl at kings, spit at gods, and hunger for more than men should dare. It amuses me. Perhaps I will help you for a price." "And what price is that?" "Chaos," Loki grinned. "Stir the world, and I will whisper secrets. Shake the order of Midgard, and I will show you paths hidden to others. Do this, and you may yet seize more than thrones, perhaps even fate itself." Skarde did not trust him. No man alive trusted Loki. Yet the offer burned in his heart. "If you betray me," Skarde warned, "I will find a way to kill even a god." Loki only laughed. At Loki's urging, Skarde sought strength beyond mortal reach. "If you would rule the world," the trickster whispered, "you must hold the respect of more than men. Seek Jotunheim, land of giants. Win their fear, and none will stand against you." And so Skarde sailed with his band across seas of mist, into a land where mountains clawed the sky and frost froze the marrow of men's bones. There, they faced not men, but Jotnar, giants with skin of stone and eyes like frozen stars. Skarde fought one upon a glacier, the clash of steel ringing across the ice. Though the giant's strength was monstrous, Skarde's cunning was sharper. He feigned weakness, lured the beast close, then drove his burning obsidian shard into its heart. The giant fell, its blood steaming upon the ice. From the mountains, other giants watched. Some growled of vengeance, others of respect. The name of Skarde spread even into Jotunheim, and Loki laughed in the wind. Yet each victory tightened fate's noose. Hildrun the seeress appeared once more in Skarde's dreams, her voice heavy with sorrow. "You climb higher, Shadowborn. But the higher you rise, the sharper the fall. I see a wolf tearing at the roots of Yggdrasil. I see fire-consuming seas. I see you standing at the edge of Ragnarök itself." "Then let it come," Skarde growled. "If fate weaves ruin, I will weave my name into ruin itself." But the seeress only wept. With each campaign, Skarde's power grew. Kingdom after kingdom bent to his will, whether by steel or by oath. Farmers called him liberator, jarls cursed him as usurper, and skalds whispered that perhaps this Shadowborn would rival even Sigurd or Ragnar. But power is a beacon, and beacons draw storms. Odin himself sent dreams to jarls across the north, warnings of a man whose hunger would shatter order, whose shadow would cover Midgard. United by fear, they forged a great alliance. 10 jarls, 5 kings, and countless warriors. Their banners darkened the horizon as they marched upon Skarde. At the river Skalgrim, the greatest host in living memory faced the Shadowborn. The battle raged for 3 days. Arrows blackened the sky, shields splintered, rivers ran red. Bruni fell with a dozen arrows in his chest, roaring defiance to his last breath. Freydis fought like a storm, but was dragged beneath a tide of spears. Ingvar was slain by fire, and Eirik the Thin vanished into the chaos. But Skarde did not break. With each fallen comrade, his rage deepened, his axe blazed brighter, until he was less man than storm. He carved through kings and jarls alike, their banners falling like trees in a gale. When the dust cleared, the alliance was broken, their rulers slain. Yet Skarde stood alone, his band shattered, his heart heavy with loss. He had won a kingdom of corpses. After the slaughter at Skalgrim, Skarde sat upon the throne of the fallen kings. The hall stank of smoke and blood, and though he wore no crown, all knew him as master of the north. Yet he sat alone. Bruni was ash, Freydis broken, Ingvar buried, Eirik gone into shadow. The wolves who once feasted with him were now bones beneath ravens. Still, Skarde did not weep. "The world does not mourn the weak," he told himself. "Their deaths by my path forward." So he reforged his strength, not with kin, but with nations. The farmers of Ironhand's land swore loyalty for bread. The freed slaves of Stenjorn raised axes in gratitude. From every conquest, he drew not only warriors but oaths, until the North bent knee to him. But in Asgard, the gods stirred uneasily. Odin sent forth his ravens Hugin and Munin to watch Skarde. They circled above his armies like black omens, their wings whispering secrets to the Allfather. Skarde saw them and spat. Let him watch. One day he will see not just a man, but his rival. Soon after, assassins struck at Skarde's camp. Warriors masked as shadows, carrying spears tipped with runes. They claimed no clan, no jarl, no king. When captured, they spoke only one word before dying: Odin. The gods themselves now moved against him. To fight gods, Skarde knew mortal armies were not enough. He sought power where no king dared, in myth and magic. He called to the dwarves of Nidavellir, smiths who dwelt in caverns deep as Yggdrasil's roots. Bruni's blood had earned their respect, and so they forged for Skarde a weapon worthy of his path. A war axe of steel blackened in dragon's fire, inlaid with runes that blazed when swung. They named it Sólbrjótur, the Sunbreaker. It will drink blood and fire alike, said the dwarves. But beware, such a blade hungers. Feed it always, or it will turn on you. Skarde accepted, for hunger was something he understood. Not all men bowed willingly. In the Far Isles, Jarl Kettle Redtooth defied Skarde, declaring him no king but a blight. Skarde sailed with 300 ships, fire and steel in their wake. The seas turned red as oaths broke and clans burned. On the blackened shore, Kettle himself fought Skarde, his axe sharp with runes blessed by priests of Odin. The battle lasted from dawn to dusk, until the beach was strewn with corpses. At last, Skarde split Kettle's skull with Sólbrjótur, the runes of the Jarl's weapon shattering like glass. The isles burned, and none dared defy him again. But that night, as the flames lit the sky, Loki appeared once more. Well done, Shadowborn, the trickster purred. The North lies broken in your grip. But tell me, is the North enough? Skarde's eyes burned. No, I will not stop until Midgard itself kneels. Loki grinned. Then your path leads south, into lands fat with kings and churches, where men fear not Odin but a white Christ. Shall we see if they kneel as easily as Jarls? Skarde did not hesitate. The war bands of Skarde poured southward, past forests, past rivers, into kingdoms unprepared for the storm. Villages burned, castles crumbled, and the warriors of the white Christ broke beneath axes and flame. Skarde's name spread not as conqueror, but as doom. Priests called him the Shadow of the North, the Wolf of Midnight. Skalds in foreign tongues whispered of him as though of a plague. But to his men, he was a god walking. In the city of Oldenburg, Skarde faced not a king, but a bishop. Robed in white, the man raised no blade, but a cross of silver. You fight not men but God, the bishop declared. Turn back, Shadowborn, for no axe can cleave the Almighty. Skarde raised Sólbrjótur, the runes blazing. Then let your God meet mine in battle. The clash was no mere duel of steel, but of faith and fury. The bishop called down light, searing warriors where they stood, yet Skarde strode through it, his axe cutting through holy fire as though it were mist. When the bishop fell, the city surrendered. But that night, Skarde dreamed of ravens tearing at his flesh, and Odin's voice thundered, "You go too far. Midgard is not yours to rule." Skarde woke with blood on his hands, though he had not fought. Loki came to him in secret. "Do you hear the Allfather's fear?" The trickster laughed. "Even Odin trembles at your path. But if you would break the world, you must awaken an ally greater than any army." "Who?" Skarde demanded. "Fenrir," Loki whispered, his eyes gleaming. "The wolf bound by the gods, foretold to devour Odin at Ragnarök. Free him, and no throne will resist you." Guided by Loki, Skarde and his band descended into a cavern deep beneath icy mountains. There they found the great wolf, chained by fetters forged of impossible things. Cat's footfall, woman's beard, fish's breath. The beast's eyes glowed with hunger. It strained against its bonds, snarling at the scent of men. "Free me," Fenrir growled, "and I will rend the world in your name." Skarde swung Sólbrjótur. The fetters screamed, runes shattering like brittle bone. With one final strike, the chains broke, and Fenrir rose, vast as a mountain, his jaws wide enough to swallow ships. Runes and oaths bind me no more, the wolf howled. The world will bleed. From that day, Skarde did not march alone. Fenrir's shadow walked beside him. With Fenrir unbound, chaos spread like fire. Crops withered, seas boiled, storms raged without end. Men said Ragnarök had begun, and yet Skarde pressed onward. His army swelled with those who worshipped him as more than king, as a god of war. He stormed east, west, south, burning, conquering, leaving only ashes behind. The White Christ's kingdoms fell one by one, but for every victory, the gods sharpened their blades. Thor waited with Mjolnir, Odin with Gungnir. The Norns whispered of a final clash that would shake all 9 worlds. Skarde's banners flew from the Baltic to the Frankish seas. Yet still he was unsatisfied. Not enough, he muttered. The world must kneel and tire, or not at all. But the world had had enough. From Asgard, Bifrost shone as the gods descended. Odin, Thor, Freyja, Tyr, even Heimdall, the watchman. Against them marched Skarde, his warriors, and Fenrir, jaws dripping blood. The battlefield was Vigrid, the plain foretold for Ragnarök. The clash was beyond mortal reckoning. Thor's hammer crushed 100 men with a single blow, but Skarde met him, Sólbrjótur blazing. Their strikes split mountains, fire and lightning tearing the sky. Odin hurled Gungnir, his spear of fate, but Skarde caught it in his bare hand, his palm bleeding, and hurled it back, grazing the Allfather's cloak. Fenrir leapt, jaws snapping at the heavens, swallowing scores of Valkyries, his roar shaking Yggdrasil itself. The gods faltered. For a moment, it seemed the Shadowborn might indeed break the world. But Loki laughed. "Fool," he whispered, appearing at Skarde's side. "Did you think I aided you for your sake? No, Shadowborn. I aided you to bring Ragnarök sooner. And now, your role is ended." He drove a dagger into Skarde's side, poisoned with serpent's venom. Skarde staggered, blood pouring, but his rage burned hotter. "You may betray me, trickster," he growled, "but I will carve my name into the end itself." With his last strength, Skarde struck. Sólbrjótur blazed like a sun, cleaving into Thor's chest. The Thunderer fell, Mjolnir tumbling from his grasp. Fenrir lunged and swallowed Odin whole, fulfilling the prophecy. But Skarde himself, poisoned and bleeding, fell to his knees. The gods who remained struck as one. Swords, spears, and light pierced him, and at last the Shadowborn fell. The plain of Vigrid burned. Fenrir howled and was slain. The gods limped back to Asgard, broken but alive. And the name of Skarde echoed in the smoke, a curse and a song alike. Some say Skarde died that day, his body ash upon Vigrid. Others whisper his spirit lingers, bound to the shard of obsidian he once carried, waiting for another age of fire. But all agree on this. No saga ever burned brighter, nor ended in deeper shadow. For Skarde, the world breaker, was no king, no hero, no god. He was hunger given flesh. And hunger never dies. Skalds still whisper his tale by firelight. Some call him villain, some savior, some the herald of Ragnarök. But in every hall, his name carries weight, for he rose from nothing and shook even the gods. And though the world still stands, shadows grow long when his name is spoken. Skarde, the world breaker,